everybody. Welcome back to How Come. Oh, man, am I sorry for how late this episode is. I feel like I've been edging you guys for like a week, and there are so many reasons why this episode is late. One, I binged all of Cobra Kai in a day, but I still could have gotten it done. Then I had tech problems, but I still could have gotten it done. And then another story that I will tell on the post-coitus, but basically involves me being stranded on the side of the road with Grace. It was fucking horrible. But the episode is here and it is worth it. And if you want to hear the whole story, go to patreon.com/howcome for the post-coitus. Interestingly, though, during that being stranded on the side of the road, I listened to another podcast, and I don't usually listen to that many other podcasts, but you guys have been asking me for recs, and so I've been like listening to more, and I like needed company. So I listened to Las Culturistas, Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang's podcast, because they did a whole episode on Britney Spears, following the Britney doc on, I think it's on Hulu. The NYTimes presented it. I watched it. So good. Highly recommend watching it. But I also needed to hear other people's opinions on it and see if they agreed with me. And this podcast was great. We're not going to talk about her in this episode, but if you want to talk about Britney, listen to that episode. They basically say everything I would have said. And yeah, highly recommend that podcast, the Britney doc, and Cobra Kai. I've never seen Karate Kid, any of them. And then I binged all of Cobra Kai. So good. I'm in love with Billy Zabka now. And then I watched, anyway, I'm done with the recs. The recs are out there for you. But this episode is all about squirting, and it's going to be so great because you guys have been asking us questions about squirting since the beginning of time, and we answer them all for you with our two guests, Kenneth Play and Wednesday Martin. Wednesday Martin was an instant #1 New York Times bestseller for her memoir, Primates of Park Avenue, and she also wrote the book Untrue, which is about female sexuality, and another book called Step Monster. You should just check out all of her books. She's amazing. And then Kenneth Play is an international sex expert and sex educator. From his words, a deeply insecure Asian immigrant to 8 million views on Pornhub and being named the world's greatest sex hacker by GQ, Kenneth develops sex techniques to help couples learn new ways to connect and overcome challenges in the bedroom. He has new courses that feature over 70 videos and 12 hours of content. And he's giving our listeners a promo code for half off, which is how come, at his website, kennethplay.com. And yeah, he is a squirting master. His teaching style has been described as a mashup of Bruce Lee's mixed martial arts approach and Tim Ferriss's 80-20 rule. He also worked with Dr. Jana Rangelova to conduct the world's largest survey on squirting. So we are going to talk about squirting, and obviously the first thing that we're going to do before we bring on our main guest is talk to a companion. Her name is Keana. She lives in San Diego. She's amazing. Her congratulations has to do with squirting, so we're going to hear from her first, and then we're going to hear from Kenneth and Wednesday. Before we start, thanks to Pros for supporting my show. Hair care is not one size fits all. Take your free in-depth hair quiz and get 15% off your first order today. Go to pros.com/howcome. Oh yeah, also before we start, I wanted to read one of our new reviews because they are so nice, and also Tecnu was such a fucking dickhole this week and made all of the ratings and reviews disappear for a second, and I got really nervous, but then a bunch of you guys rushed in and made me feel better. This review is extra special because it is the first one that mentions our sweet Robin, and it is a very nice review. It is from Alchemy775, and it says, "My favorite podcast. This is the best. They have the most knowledgeable guests to talk about so many topics related to relationships, sex, body, etc. I love how they are so effortlessly inclusive in their dialogue. Remy and Robin are amazing. It's so fun to learn something new and laugh out loud at the same time. I truly hope this podcast endures for years to come. It's made my sex life so much better. Ugh, we love ya. And yeah, congrats, Robin, for your first review. She loves it. Robin is with me on this first half talking to Keana, but actually it was Robin's birthday and she took the weekend off for the squirting section. So we have our team member Pamela filling in for her there. This episode, it is so good. And there are mad extras. So we recorded me, Kenneth, and Wednesday for 2 hours. That is all on patreon.com/howcome. It's only $5 to join and you get access to all of our videos. And I highly suggest watching this one with video because we show diagrams and stuff and there's like a lot of like positions and yeah. Also, Keana and I spoke for half an hour instead of the little taste that you will get here. So yeah, patreon.com/howcome. I'm so excited for this episode and you will love it. Let's get started.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm excited. How are you guys?
Oh my God, good. We're excited too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, of course. I feel so special.
You are so special. What do you want us to call you if we call you any name?
Oh, you can call me Keana.
Okay, cool.
I don't care. I want the world to know.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so glad it happened. Out of 2020, it was the best thing to happen to me.
Yeah. Truly. So can you tell your congrats story to everybody?
Yes. So I started listening to your guys' podcast probably in the end of 2019 and I'm 27 now, so I was like very sheltered, grew up super Christian and just like didn't really explore sexuality. It was kind of like shameful. So I really liked your episodes that you had where you had people on that kind of struggle with the same thing because I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this.
I was going to say, did you hear like Taylor's episode and like the two Christians ones? Those are usually like the two that I'm like.
Yeah, I love Taylor's episode and I loved her stand up too because it was just so relatable. So I listened to those, I listened to your podcast and I actually ended up getting a sex therapist like around the same time. So I was working with her. Yeah. And I don't know, I think that more people should be open to that. It sounds weird at first. We really just talked over the phone.
Yeah, no, like it sounds like intimidating just because like it has the word sex in it and therapy.
Right.
Like those are two already intimidating things, like that you feel guilty that you need therapy or that you need sex therapy or whatever. But it's like, no, like that's really good. Instead of like wandering through life being like, what am I doing wrong? Like go take care of it.
Exactly. And I think like as women, it feels so weird to pay money to talk to someone about our pleasure specifically. But especially if you're coming with a lot of like conditioned beliefs with shame, I don't think there's any problem. And I think it really helped me and really helped me explore. So she had suggested listening to Dipsy, which you guys ended up working with. So I'm like obsessed with audio erotica because before I would watch porn and like, I mean, it turns me on and I like it, but I get too into like the visuals and I'm like,
same.
Anyway, so the more I listened to your podcast, I ended up getting the girl's best friend.
Yay.
Because I was like, I'm really sensitive and the regular vibrators don't work, but I really like the shower head, but it's not like really doing it for me. So then I started smoking weed before I got in the shower. And that like really, because I'm such an anxious person, it really like relaxed me and kind of got me like out of my head and more into like a body experience. So when I finally like used the girl's best friend, I think like when you're so anxious, it's so like in your head and like, so like, is it happening? Is it happening?
Yeah,
But when you're high, you're just kind of like, well, I don't know, like we'll see what happens. Something's happening. So I use like the girl's best friend on my clit and the shower head, like a combo.
From different angles?
Yeah, like I'd hold like the girl's best friend like on my clit and then I'd to the shower head like on my labia. So it was
Okay,
like
cool.
it was like all around like feeling. And first I'd never squirted before, but I squirted and I didn't really know. I was like, what just happened? Because like I didn't feel like I reached a climax, but like all this liquid was coming out. I was like, what's happening? And then I remember DMing you guys, or like you had like a live questionnaire over COVID with someone, and I was like, is it normal to squirt?
Yeah,
like,
I remember
before
that.
Orgasming?
Hello again.
Yeah, that was me. I'm back. So I asked like my therapist, and she's the same thing. So she's like, you just have to push through it. So I was like, I'm going to do this whole set up this whole ritual again. And I did it, and I like pushed past it, and I finally orgasmed, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Ugh, congrats. Yeah, no, I remember you were like, is it possible that I could be squirting and not coming? And I'm like, yeah, 100%. But so many people. Like, that's what happened to me. Even the first time that I did come, like I definitely squirted first, but then I remember like looking at myself in the mirror going like, that wasn't the feeling. Like there's the action and then there's the feeling, and like they can happen together, but like not always.
Right. And that's, I think like no one really talks about it. So I had no idea. So I really think the magic trick was weed, and not that like if people don't want to smoke weed, like maybe wine, like it really is just like getting out of your head.
Yeah. Or like a CBD or like an edible, maybe, if like you don't like the smoking thing, because I don't know. I think like I know wine has a different effect on me, but yeah, I don't know. I puke, but
that's not hot.
It's not hot for anyone. Were you an active smoker before this, or was it, or like, did you just bring weed in like specifically for the occasion?
No, I actively smoke, and I have for a long time. But I think it was never like a ritual. So
right.
And I liked having sex when I was high, and I thought it felt good and like would feel more tingly. And I had looked into like the CBD lubes. Is that Grace joining the convo?
Yeah. I knew she was going to try and get in.
Okay, you situated? Okay, you're so cute.
Back to you. Yeah, so I love it. I love that it worked with a combination of weed, a girl's best friend by Sweet Vibrations, promo code how come, and a shower head. That's awesome.
I know. I want to try the perfect match next, because I feel like
have to.
Yeah, I think that's going to be.
If you are a dual gal, and you can handle holding two things. Like you don't even need to hold two things, but like you're gonna have the best time.
It's less work for me.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. Yeah, I think it really was, because I do smoke weed a lot, but I never like. I think it was just like making it an intentional thing, and not being like, I'm gonna lay on my bed and like hope this works and think. I don't know. It's just about relaxing and being like, okay, I'm gonna be in the moment and
dedicating the time and being like, okay, yeah, this is me time, and like, I don't know. I feel like carving out a little space for myself is something that I never was taught to do.
Yeah, and like one of your first challenges was to like turn the lights off and put music on and just like touch yourself for 20 minutes. I think like even though that part like felt kind of weird to me, and I know like it felt weird at first for you, like I think the idea of setting aside time and like maybe lighting a candle in your bathroom, or like playing sexy music or a Dipsy story, because those are hot, and you can't really like go out and have sex with a bunch of people during quarantine.
So I have a question. Do you always use a shower head now?
I don't always use it. Like sometimes I'll just use the girl's best friend. Yeah. So sometimes I'll just use that. I do like using the shower head because it's like warm and it's cold right now. But I do tend to do it a lot in the bathtub because I squirt so much.
Nice.
Because I just don't want to like wet the bed.
Yeah. No, that's actually really good to hear, because so we have a companion named Jessica, and she's 34 and she hasn't come yet, and we've been doing this like journey with her on Patreon and like trying to lead her through the episodes and stuff, and we're at the point where I'm like, okay, it's time to have a GBF. And like, I had Sweet Vibes send it to her and she's like, okay, but like, I really like to do it in the tub. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's waterproof enough for that. And like, now I have you as testimonial. It works. I'm going to like call her right after this and be like, get masturbating right now.
Yeah, it's definitely waterproof. Yeah, I mean, I think I've looked up things that you can get, like special sheets or like those little towels, but I just don't want to deal with the mess.
Yeah.
And I think like it is like, again, it's like a ritual. It's like, this is my personal time. I can like lock the door and get my boyfriend and my dog out of the way. Like, this is my time. So.
Maybe he might tap on the door though. Like, Grace, let me in. Yeah, no, the tub is so interesting to me too, because we've talked about like different sensations, but we don't really talk about like hot and cold a lot. Yeah. And like, I feel like vulva owners, like at least me, like I am perpetually cold, but when I am warm, and like I read some stat about like wearing socks helping like blood flow and stuff, and like being warm like really does help for sex. So like girls, boys, gays, theys, and them, whatever. What is it? It's girls, gays, and theys. Get in the tub. Get in the tub. Or like, yeah, just like a little hot room or like under a blanket or something. Like,
yeah, get a
I think
heating
heat
pad.
really does help. Yeah, for some people.
I think it does. It's something about like being that sensation on top of being like so relaxed. Like you feel warm and safe. And I know, like my boyfriend always keeps his socks on when we have sex. So yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just like at first I was like, that's weird, but then I read the stat where I was like, okay, this makes sense. Yeah,
no, and I don't want to be like gross, but it's kind of feelings like being back in the womb and you just like safe and like I don't know, we've read about people masturbating in the womb too, so it's not that far-fetched, but yeah, like a nice little insulated feeling.
Yeah, it just feels warm and comfortable. It feels so good to just feel like relaxed, and yeah, 100% recommend it.
This is so fun. I feel like I'm getting so many tips from all the people that we've called for congratulations. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So a sock stat, 80% of couples reached orgasm while wearing socks, while only 50% managed to without socks.
Oh.
The reasoning is because wearing socks, in addition to keeping you warm, helps the blood vessels in your feet dilate, allowing for improved blood flow, not only helping you doze off more quickly, but it also facilitates earth-shattering orgasms. So wear socks.
I love that.
You guys should get some How Come socks.
I know.
I think we have socks. Oh no, we had socks. We had socks.
Do we have socks?
I want socks. We need a good sock design.
Do people want to wear cum on their socks?
I think if you're having sex, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
My favorite pair of socks says fuck off.
We could just write cum socks on them. And then it could be socks that you come in, or socks that you wipe cum up with, or socks that you wear during.
Yeah.
Welcome to the fucking meeting.
Yeah. All right. I am in marketing, so I'm just going to keep popping the ideas.
Oh my God, please. Anything. Yeah.
But seriously, it's all part of the ritual. You got to put your socks on and feel warm and comfy.
Comfy.
Yeah. Comfy. Yes. Comfy.
Are we recording this? This is good. This is good stuff. Amazing.
This is so fun.
Keana, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and also participating in the live, because
thank you so much.
I remember you from then.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your platform. It's been life-changing, which is crazy.
I'm so happy. You know, I have a very important question to ask you. Did you finish by chance?
Yes. And I'm wearing my weed socks.
Yeah.
I definitely finished.
Amazing.
Did you guys finish?
We did. Thank you so much for asking.
On behalf of me?
Yeah, we're a unit.
We did.
Yeah.
We have the same initials, and we always come at the same time.
In unison.
Yeah.
Always. Never
From around the world. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, Robin!
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Keana, thank you so much for doing this. And congratulations again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Of course.
Can't wait for the episode.
Bye.
Bye.
I love Keana's story so much because she really just found her like little cocktail of what works, you know, like who would think combining a sex toy and a shower head and weed would be the thing that you need, but like she did it, and that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but it works for her. And I am, as you know, very about finding your own cocktail, finding stuff that fits exactly to you. Like, I don't think there's a one size fits all for sex. I don't think there's a one size fits all really for anything. And so I have annoying struggles with my hair. You know, like sometimes it is too dry because I bleached the shit out of it like years ago. And sometimes it gets too red if I'm like using the wrong shampoo that doesn't have like blonde safe stuff in it. And yeah, I always feel like I need stuff that is tailored to me. And most people do like need products that are suited for their unique needs, and don't leave us disappointed. So thanks to my personalized Prose shampoo and conditioner, I've fallen in love with my hair again. I've teamed up with Prose and they are offering 15% off your first order at prose.com/howcome. I was having like the worst hair year ever. Granted, yes, I did decide to bleach my hair into Draco Malfoy territory, maybe even Lucius Malfoy territory. And it was getting really like straw-like and hay-like. And I discovered Prose a while ago. And I realized, oh, you can tailor stuff to exactly what you need. Like, this is the thing for me. I started using their products. I filled out my like little questionnaire form, got my own little customized shampoo and conditioner that say my name on it, which you know I love, and immediately started making my hair softer and more bearable and like made me want to actually like take care of it again. So Prose is great because they know there's more to you than just your hair type. They have given over 1 million consultations with their in-depth hair quiz, which is, like I said, how I got started. I was like, yeah, I bleach my hair every day. I don't really wash it a ton. It is oily. They even asked about like your eating habits and your exercise and stuff, which I was like, why do you need to know this about me? But like, apparently they did. And that knowledge was good because it did good things for my hair. Prose creates custom shampoo and conditioners based on your personal hair analysis and their algorithm. Their online quiz dives into every conceivable factor that affects your hair health. So with over 50 billion formula combinations, the result is a unique blend of ingredients that caters to your every strand and follicle, which I love. The customization experience goes beyond the initial quiz. With every order, Prose optimizes formulas based on lifestyle and seasonal changes, which I don't know if you guys notice, but my hair gets especially bad in the winter, or depending on where I am. Like, that's another thing they ask in the quiz is like your zip code, and you're like, why? And it's like, you know why. Like, your hair dries better on the West Coast than it does in New York, or for me at least. See, everyone's different. You're probably like, not me. Well, good. Go tell Prose about you, and then they'll make you your own shampoo. But yeah, there's 50 billion formula combinations. Every bottle is made to order, guaranteeing optimal freshness, which is awesome. I use their shampoo and conditioner, like I said. I love them. I love even the shape of the container. Like, the conditioner isn't a squeeze bottle. It's like a jar, so you can just take like a little dollop instead. I don't know. I just like it better. I've noticed my hair dries nicer since using it. Like, the texture isn't as wiry and as like curly when I like just get out of the shower. It's shinier. I think it's stronger even. Prose also stands by clean and responsible beauty, which is great. Every formula is sustainably sourced and cruelty-free. Prose can accommodate virtually any preference, including vegan, gluten-free, and more. If you are not 100% positive Prose is the best hair care you've ever had, then they will take the products back, no questions asked. Stuff made for you, they'll just be like, sure. So if this sounds like something for you, get on board. Prose is the healthy hair regimen with your name all over it. Take your free in-depth hair quiz and get 15% off your first order today. Go to prose.com/howcome. That is Prose, PROSE.com/howcome for your free in-depth hair quiz and 15% off. Okay, I am so excited for this episode. Wednesday and Kenneth are about to teach us every question you've ever asked me and I have not known how to respond to. So You guys, please welcome Wednesday Martin.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you, and welcome Kenneth Play.
Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you guys so much for making this happen.
Again, I'm so sorry because I made us late.
No.
I don't know the last time I slept 9 hours. I guess I was thinking of like how hard Kenneth made me come the last time I saw him. And my body just turned into a giant sleeping pill.
Amazing. Well, I love that. Is an amazing way to kick this off. We have gotten so many questions about squirting. Squirting is a huge part of my first coming story. And also, squirting is how I found out about Kenneth, because when I was leaving recording Wednesday's podcast, Kenneth was coming in next to give you a squirting hands-on tutorial.
That's right. That's right. You guys were our podcast guests on the same day. Wow.
Yep, and that was back in the days when we could podcast in person and touch each other and give each other squirting tutorials. So ever since I left that day, I was like, oh, this needs to be an episode, and I need to meet Kenneth, and I need to talk about this. So I'm so excited to finally meet you.
My pleasure. I've been a fanboy since I saw you on Netflix on Sex Explained.
Shut up. We are mutual fan people then. This is so exciting. Ugh, and to think we could have met that day.
Can you believe what a difference a year makes?
Such a difference. But we were like ships in the night, and I was like, if I didn't have other stuff to do today, I would ask to stick around and watch. Because he gave you your first squirt.
Which was such an interesting experience and such a big deal for me, right? Because I just thought, well, like I'm in midlife, like I probably don't have a lot of more novel sexual experiences in terms of my own body up my sleeve, right? Like I kind of
left to do.
Yeah, I kind of thought, well, I know my own body. You know, I grew up with a mom who taught me the right words for everything. I'm pretty open to sexual exploration. I write about sex, and I just thought, I doubt there's really anything big that's going to happen. And then along comes Kenneth Play.
So it was an exciting experience for you, obviously, because you didn't think that you had any new sexual debuts left. Kenneth, how was the experience for you?
At first, when Wednesday invited me to the podcast, I thought she was kidding when she said, I want you to make me squirt. And I'm like, haha, like, you know, like a punt, you know? I mean, I've been interviewed before about the topic, but I would never imagine.
Done it before, like on stages and like
on
in
video, front of thousands of people, on video,
but never on a podcast.
Never on a podcast, and never as a serious and beautiful podcast as Wednesday's podcast. So I was like, you know, I never thought I'm gonna squirt a New York Times bestseller, live on a podcast.
With video.
Yeah, video.
Dreams come true.
Yeah, dreams do come true.
And, you know, if I could say, like, what I love about you, Kenneth, is how game you were. Like, if only Remy could have been there to see the look on your face, Kenneth, when I was like, okay, so are you ready to go? And you looked at me and you said, wait, I thought you were kidding.
Yeah.
Like, and I said, no, we're going to do it live in the studio and with video. And
in like a public podcast studio. Like, this isn't a private studio. This is like one where you like rent space in a like there were glass windows. Like, did you guys border up the windows?
Not really.
Oh my God.
Not really. Like, you know how people are always from office building to office building staring at each other?
Yes.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of people even paid attention. Everybody was just, we were kind of blasé in the studio.
And also you were like on the floor. So like maybe you weren't like window height. Like they'd have to like look in.
Yes. I mean, I thought the people a little bit above us might look in and say like, what's going on? But, you know, pretty soon I was just so swept away. Okay, we did do one thing. And I believe that Kenneth, being himself, may have suggested this. He said, you know, in the studio itself where the producer is, are you comfortable with that? And I said, yeah, because they have to watch me. But he gave me the idea. And I just said, I only want women in here for this.
Yeah.
And so we had a great producer Her name's Joy.
Joy.
Yeah. It was so appropriate, Kenneth.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting mix of conditions, right? You have a little bit of like the good kind of anxiety where it's exciting, so you get a little bit of sympathetic arousal, and also like trying to create a comfortable space. So I think that beautiful dance between the two systems is what makes like a good like memorable experience.
Wait, so you showed up totally unprepared, and like I know you usually have like a kit.
Yeah, I usually bring all my like gloves and lubes and would like ask Wednesday some like intake questions and things that I should know. And then we did that like sort of quickly, but usually I would spend a little bit more time. But it turned out really good. So I was really lucky that to be in that to kind of do it live, and I was a little nervous because it's like if I bomb live.
It's recorded.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of that anxiousness, but I thought about like why I do this job anyway. It's never really about it really is not about my ego. A lot of times that a lot of straight men would be like, oh, I want to make her squirt, and then it becomes like this thing that I could do to you. And from all the training and learning that I've been doing for a really long time is helping people access their own pleasure. So whenever I'm in that state, I'm not going to do well anyway. So it's much easier to tune back into Wednesday's pleasure and her experience, and then that helps me navigate.
What are the intake questions? Because I've had a tantric massage, so like I've had that like sitting down, having a conversation before and being like, are you comfortable if I'm going to do this? And I'm going to ask you every step of the way about this. Like, is that kind of similar? Like, what are you usually?
So those are container boundary settings and make sure that people knows their yeses and no and what they want to explore and what is edgy and what is not edgy. Also, we take a more lengthy sexual history because that informs me a lot about the person's. I ask questions like, when did you discover sexual pleasure in your body, from like first time masturbating to your first sexual experiences. So most of the highlights and their most negative time that people might experience, because that time informs the body and the narrative that people form around sex. I also assess, figure out what really arouses them and turn them on, or what are some other inhibitory things that put their brakes on or trust. So then I could properly do like a sex ID on that person and then figure out how to like solve this puzzle. It's kind of a little bit playing detective.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, obviously you have to do it for your work, but I'm feeling like people should just kind of do that with each other anyway. Like it would be really good if instead of being like, ooh, stop that actually is a trigger for me, like during sex, like before, like you have a thing being like, like something has happened to me before, and like I don't know. I'm not good at articulating this morning. I smoked a lot of weed and my cotton mouth isn't crazy.
I think that's such a great idea though, because consent, as Kenneth often says, and as our friend Gigi Engel often says.
Yes, Gigi.
Yes, Gigi. Yes, Kenneth. They both kind of taught me, well, consent should be enthusiastically affirmative and about. Consent shouldn't just be yes or no. It should be
super
about
stoked.
Pleasure. Yeah. Pleasure. Yeah, super stoked.
Super stoked. And yeah, no, and it goes like both ways. Like, so you get there and there's no gloves and there's no lube, but you're like, I'm down for this. Like enthusiastic consent back to do this.
Yeah.
We send Joy out, I assume, to get.
I actually sent my assistant Jane, who had for a time the weirdest job in New York, and she's always so game.
Okay, so Jane went out to get
Dwayne Reed. She was like, she just looked at the situation and she's like, I'm going out to Dwayne Reed right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Was there a towel handy?
I had a squirt pad.
Yeah, squirt pad.
Yeah, Whitney, my podcast co-host, just built a little squirt pad.
Love Whitney. Yes, Whitney.
And being herself, she also did a whole like Instagram story about the setup with the squirt pad. Only Joy in the, I gotta say something. I feel a little bad that I didn't let the guy producers be in there. Like that would have been fine. It would have been good for them.
I mean, maybe you could do it again, but it was your first time, you know, like you want to create a setting of your own.
But yeah, Jane just scurried out and got Kenneth his equipment.
That's very great.
His supplies.
I know this is kind of jumping ahead to user questions, but we already mentioned squirt towels. And one of the biggest questions is like, what are squirt towels I can use? What are recommendations of sheets or something? Like, how do I not have to do laundry every 24 hours?
So I love teaching that kind of sex hack. If you are lazy like me, using a puppy pad or the hospital pads underneath a towel is the easiest, because you can just throw the towel on the hamper and then the pad catches everything. So that's easy. But always have a mattress protector underneath. If you're fancier, you will get a Liberator blanket, or you could buy the cheaper version.
Buck Angel mentioned the Liberator once.
But they're the same. You could get the same one on Amazon as a picnic blanket. It's the same thing, but just a little less
blanket.
That's so cozy.
And you just put it under one sheet. And so you will have to wash one.
You have the one sheet.
Or get a really big puppy pad for like St. Bernard puppies. Get a few.
Ooh.
Yeah, extra large puppy pads with a towel is the easiest and lowest level of cleanup, that you could.
Okay. So was there a puppy pad purchased? Oh, no, you had a squirt pad.
We didn't have it together like that.
What was the squirt pad called? Because there is a squirt pad that exists. We've talked about it before. It is called the Cumpanion by Anna Ray. And I believe there's still a promo code. How come? I'm not sure. But yeah, those are really tiny, though.
Well, okay. I believe the squirt pad was a towel. I think that Whitney just went to Joy and said, "Do we have any tea towels?"
Okay.
And some paper towels as well. And it was so nice that she did that, because then it was like it gave me something to focus on. Like, oh, this is where I'll be, and I completely trusted Kenneth. So, but yeah, I think a squirt pad is an important thing.
And I'm not going to pee on the rug of this podcast studio.
I mean,
someone's going to record it in an hour.
I didn't care. It's not my podcast studio. No, I did care, because actually then it would have been on Joy. And I have to say, I love our podcast studio where we record, but they were totally game, but they were worried about the squirt liquid. Like there was a lot of, Joy was obviously hearing a lot about how they did not want me squirting all over things. So the squirt pad was.
Well, I'm curious about that, because we also got a question. We got a ton of questions about is there a smell? Is it pee? When I've smelled mine, it smells a little bit like pee, but not like. It's like super diluted. Like, what would you say, Kenneth?
Well, I've been very fortunate to work with Dr. Jana. So we are currently running the world's largest survey, scientific survey on squirting. So squirtingsurvey.com. And so I have some hypotheses. The science is inconclusive. So we know from different studies say different things. So just say if your bladder is completely empty when you enter a sexual situation, meaning no pee in the body. And there's two types of squirt. So one is the liquid coming from the bladder, and one is coming from the urethral sponge. But that's so in the Schleen's gland on the urethral sponge, you could milk like a skin milk like substance that is more like a whitish liquid, but it usually is a teaspoon and a tablespoon worth of squirt.
The skin gland.
Yeah, so there are little pinholes around the pee holes that sometimes could drain out that way or drain into the urethra that comes out. And then the liquid.
Them? Are they big enough to see?
You could see if you really, really look. And some people, but they say
check out my skin later.
But one study say half of the women have it. They hypothesize as a female prostate, and the liquid that you see on most porn or like the gushing one, that liquid comes from your bladder. So the hypothesis that we are coming up with is that during sexual stimulation, the overall engorgement of your genital area includes your bladder. So your bladder will fill up a lot quicker than you were just making regular urine.
Mm-hmm.
So it just to make it more, maybe as a way to protect it, maybe is to fight a potential infection or want you to
Clean
pee
it
after
out.
sex.
Yeah.
So the idea that it was fill up a lot quicker than normal situation, and those are the diluted version that most people have experienced. But if you did have a bunch of urine beforehand in your bladder and it all comes out, it only comes out the bigger squirt, it only comes out there. So you could have a mix of some like pee that was already there, filled up with a more diluted version, and then it all comes out. But it picks up some of their stuff from the Squeens gland, which is their like you have a little bit of their like same content as male ejaculate, like the more watery bit. That's why the study has been up in the air. But I don't think it really matters. It's like whatever people enjoy.
Right.
Can I say, if people are really nerdy and they want to know, first of all, I'm so excited about Kenneth and Jana's study, because there's not enough literature up there. I did a little lit review before we did the podcast with Kenneth helping me squirt, but I also did a more recent lit review, and there's not a lot of literature on it. So we really need Kenneth and Jana's study. But a lot of people agree that to Kenneth's point, like Kenneth is making the point that when you start with your bladder empty, right? When you do these tests about what's in that substance.
Oh, I've done these little tests on myself. I've literally gone to pee and then jack off and squirt and go pee again, jack off and squirt, and it just keeps producing itself. So I've seen it.
So that's the control, right? That you start with your empty bladder. And then the most recent thing I saw that did an analysis of the substance said that it was urea and uric acid. And then it was also creatinine. And then this stuff called PSA was found in female ejaculate. So PSA is prostatic specific. It's a public service announcement. It's prostatic specific antigen, and that's like a white milky fluid, and that's why
so that's literally like cloudy. A female prostate, though. Right? Prostatic.
And that's why.
Little
and so
root?
like
it's a female prostate. Get to know it.
Get to know it.
Get milked, bitch.
And it's from your urethral sponge, as you said, we think, right, Kenneth?
Yeah. It because the little ducts also could drain into the urethra like itself, so it's not that much liquid. So the other hypothesis I have is we don't know yet. So to go back a little bit, being a science nerd, the largest sample size that from all the research that we could find from the lit review is about like 400 participants. The one that we're doing has about 8,000. So we're being a total size queen when it comes to sample size. But
social scientists love size queen studies.
Yeah. So
does big data.
Yeah, big data.
I'm very excited. I'm getting ready to squirt.
There's two. So there's the pee hole, and then there's two sphincter that controls like the flow of urine. So there's one in the front, like where the actual pee hole is, and then there's the one on the back of their urethral sponge. So the same hypothesis is like when a guy gets a hard on, right? A penis owner gets a hard on. It's harder for him to pee because the body want to restrict the flow of urine. But we could pee when we have a hard on. We just have this really awkward, like awkward peeing, sort of a different sensation that I would have if I didn't have a hard on. So we don't know if orgasm or different sexual function overrides the opening of those two gates.
Interesting.
So sometimes it opens here, so the squirt did not come out, the milking part did not come out, but it drains in, or next time you pee it comes out. So we don't know exactly which mechanism control those sphincters, but just like anal sex is not like meant to have a cock in your butt or things in your butt, but we learn how to figure out how to work those sphincters to create pleasurable experiences. So I don't think it matters, but those are two control.
But you can also work to control them with your brain. Like you could make the decision to pee with a boner, and I also would make the decision to stop myself from squirting all the time. I guess I didn't know at the time, but every masturbatory experience where I thought I was getting to that point or whatever, it would feel like I was going to pee. And I was like, well, I definitely don't want to pee. So then I would hold everything back. Whereas now I feel like I can let myself squirt when I want to. I can let myself come without squirting if I want to. Like, I feel like I've gotten like more of a control on that.
I think that's such a valuable thing. Sorry, I'm just going to hop in
Go
as
ahead, go
somebody
ahead.
who learned to do it. And I want to speak to Kenneth's excellence here and to your excellence, Remy, of just the great thing about a squirting tutorial with Kenneth was I learned so much so organically about my body. And I love you saying that, like, having learned to squirt, you could go back to those masturbatory experiences and kind of change them up a little bit, or understand what you had been doing before that maybe not only stopped you from squirting, but may have stopped you from having an orgasm.
Yeah, just like alleviating the mental block.
That's big. That was a big thing that Kenneth did for me.
Yeah.
Was, you know, as women, we're so clamped down. And this is part of what Kenneth said when, with no warning, he had to talk me through everything. And I loved this point that Kenneth made, is that, like, women especially are taught, suck your stomach in. Don't laugh so hard you pee. Especially suck your stomach in.
Yeah.
Look skinny.
Look skinny.
The burden on women to look skinny all the time is one of the main things that I think inhibits our sexual pleasure.
Looking sexy during sex.
Arching
your back. I've never.
being the to be looked at can be really hot. The gazed upon, but it stops us from letting those muscles go and letting ourselves squirt. So I just wanted to hop in and say that it was so cool that Kenneth talked me through that in that way and said, stop sucking your stomach in.
Remy, your story is quite common on people thinking that when they feel that G-spot sensation, or you're closer to orgasm, that involuntary type of contractions start. And then so much of sex from Emily's book, Come As You Are, is so context based, right? So if you're thinking, I'm gonna pee on my partner, so I'm gonna stop myself from doing this function, then you shutting down that system, so you're not like heading towards climax.
Right.
So the first thing I'm trying to notice is that if they have any type of inhibitory behavior. So that could be, I don't want to squirt like all over the sheets. So that's where the puppy pat. So all the activity is to lower inhibition. I want to eliminate all the things that you would think that would prohibit yourself from doing, letting your body go, because so much of orgasm is letting go and being sympathetic. So I figure out what you do, and then somewhat involuntary, like you're not even thinking about it. So a lot of people will feel that sensation, and it feels kind of like peeing, if the technique I'm doing. And then I have to coach them. Does it feel like you're like a little bit like you got to pee? Great. So I add a little context. When you feel that, it's good. So change some of the value. And then when they do feel that feeling, I teach them how to override it. So I want you to bear down, how you bear down, trying to push my finger out. And that usually what that does is that when they start feeling that same sensation, they will start feeling pleasure, because not to be gross, it's like you're trying to hold in a fart feeling, right? So I'm like it's teaching them not to like hold in the fart behavior.
Yeah, it's being like, no, we want you to fart. That's the fucking
let it
goal. Let it rip.
Yeah. But you know, there's a lot of fear, I think, with the whole squirting thing. Can I just say, I think squirting, like we were talking about how what you see when you're watching porn is generally that's urine coming out, but a lot of times it's also water coming out.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of times it's fake.
Yeah, we've been given a lot of fake visual images about squirting, and then we've been told a lot, like Kenneth said, that squirting is somehow like something that a man with his prowess makes a woman do. You know, I don't know if queer women have the same kind of like concept about it being about the achievement of the partner rather than the pleasure of the person doing it. But I think that when we were getting to the squirt pad, one of the greatest things that Kenneth said is like, it doesn't matter if it happens or not. This is just a tutorial for you. This is not about my ego. I don't know.
Take the pressure off.
And more than that, if there are any straight guys listening, stop fucking making squirting about you.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Tell her stop sucking your stomach, and you're so sexy when you let your stomach do whatever it wants to do, and whenever you let your body do what it wants to do. I know I'm preaching to the choir with guys who listen to How Come. But yeah, stop it. Squirting's not about your awesomeness.
Yeah. There's definitely people who like came across this episode and were like, oh yeah, I want to do that, or I want to make that happen. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we've had so many DMs from partners of vulva owners who are like, I want to make this person squirt or whatever. Like, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, the first question is, does that person want to squirt?
Yeah. Nobody wants to be with a guy who's like, I'm going to make you squirt. Like, just listen to your language. Really make you squirt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that Kenneth took that off the table, first of all, because he's just intrinsically a cool person and an organic feminist. But I just loved having that pressure taken off me too. Like that Kenneth said, this isn't about my ego at all. And squirting shouldn't be about your partner's ego. It's like a cool experience that you may or may not have. And also, not all bodies squirt.
Okay.
Not all women's bodies squirt. And there are some data that if you try to make yourself when you can't, that it's potentially harmful. So like I recommend everybody get a tutorial with Kenneth, because he understands the subtleties of squirting, everything from the other person's ego to if you don't force your body. I love you, Kenneth.
Aww.
Well, so, and I've read in some places all squirting comes from the G-spot, and I'm like, that cannot be true, because every squirt that I've done has always been with a clitoral suction toy, and these skin glands sound like they're on the head of the clitoris.
No,
right?
It's around the pee hole.
Oh, sorry, but they're in the front. They're not inside.
No, they're inside near your urethral sponge.
Above the G-spot.
Remy, we need to give you a lesson in the female erectile network.
Wait, no.
Up around your urethra, part of the female erectile network.
Isn't your urethra like under your clit hood?
It's further up in your body, and your urethra is covered in spongy material that's erectile material.
I have a diagram that I just made for my book if you want to see. Yes.
Thank you.
And 1 second.
So a lot of people call it the extensive female, the entirety of the female sexual clitoral anatomy, but I like to call it the female erectile network, because the female erectile network, when you use that denotation, you're also talking about the urethral sponge that a female-bodied person has, and the woman's perineal sponge.
So I made my own. So that's the urethral sponge.
Nice.
This is the clit, and that's the finger position that I use to create the pressure.
Wait. Okay, hold on. I don't.
Can I show another one too that will be complementary to Kenneth's? So that, because this one's in color. Hey, you see right here, this little green thing, that's the urethral sponge.
What are those? What are the vestibular? So this is way.
It's just above
back.
your G-spot.
There's the legs of the clit, right?
And I think then Kenneth's illustration will let you get into the details more, but I just wanted to show you the overall thing about what the urethral sponge does. And your urethra is up inside your body, and then those vestibular bulbs are under your labia.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then you see the perineal sponge back here is
That's your
also
butt.
erectile tissue. That's exciting. So I just want to say it's so tricky, as somebody who's written about and studied female sexuality for the last 6 years full time. I mean, I know Kenneth feels the same frustration that I do, that it is so hard to find imaging like this that helps those of us who have a urethral sponge, for example, know and understand where it is. Like you and I, Remy, have been doing sex podcasts for years, right?
Yeah.
And this imagery isn't available to us. And I remember talking to the doula and pleasure educator, Latham Thomas. And the way I learned about this, I didn't even know that my clit was extensive. I thought it was just what I could see. And she said to me when I was interviewing her, she said, Wednesday, you know how you go into the OBGYN and there were all those maps of the reproductive system and you look at it and you're like, yeah, I get it. I know this system, the ovaries, the uterus, the this.
We don't have that for this.
And she said, why don't we have maps of the female pleasure system?
Because they only discovered the clitoris in 1998.
Well, we knew about it before, actually, but there was the great forgetting. But she said, why are there not maps of the female erectile network? And I just think Kenneth and Remy, we should just form a movement of like getting maps of the female erectile network in every doctor's office, in every dorm room, in every cafe.
Yeah, like the fact that I haven't seen this is crazy. But I will go back and say that I still agree with myself. The skein glands look like they're at the front.
They are at the front. They're at the front. The sponge is behind it.
Right. The sponge.
Yeah.
I know that the sponge is behind because in Cosmo they've been telling you to grab for the spongy part for your G-spot since like they opened the magazine.
Yeah, since the 70s, right?
Yeah, that's why I have to make my own diagram because it's not that available. So I'm like, let me just hire someone and draw it exactly the way I want to teach it.
And by the way, Betty Whipple is an amazing sex educator.
The Whipple method.
Yeah, she taught us a lot about this. Like you said, like she was probably one of the people talking to Cosmo back in the 70s when they started writing about it.
Yeah, her book is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so would you say that all squirting comes from G-spot stimulation?
No, there's one study that debunked that. So
yeah, her name's Remy Casimir.
This is what I think. For first-time non-squirter, the likelihood of a G-spot stimulation has in my anecdotal experience, but it has a higher likelihood for involuntary version of this happening. But once you gain voluntary control, it's just like a reflex that you learn how to do. Same thing when people get better at anal sex, they just know how to work with their sphincter 1 and 2, so they have easier. So you could, any type of stimulation, you don't even need to touch your vulva or your vagina at all. You could squirt. It becomes more like a water gun.
What?
Because it's a trick that you could teach your body.
So hands-free squirting is a real thing.
You could do it. I have people do it at parties all the time, and they kind of like, this is their party trick. But it's that when we did the squirting survey, what's really important to us, we wrote our mission is to not over glorify it, and then the other side is to destigmatize it, because there's a lot of people feel terrible about wetting the bed or whatever the case may be. So we find a way to look at it. This is just a phenomenon that happens to a lot of people, and if you like it, enjoy it, and if it happens to you, it's a human function. So a totally normal function. So
are female ejaculate and squirting the same thing? Are they the same liquid? Is it the same function?
I think the technical definition is any explosion of fluid from your genital area during sexual stimulation, but there's two distinct type of fluid that comes out. One is from the Squirt gland, and the other one is from your bladder. And then the bladder one is depending on how much urine that you have in there, or very little of it. So that's the two types of ejaculation that comes out.
Where does discharge come from?
That I'm not sure.
That's your vagina being your amazing self-cleaning vagina.
The pussy cleaning itself.
Yeah.
It's just the most amazing self-cleaning thing. That's why I get so pissed when people say, oh my God, if you're not smelling fresh down there, what the fuck are you talking about? My vagina's cleaning itself every second.
There would just be some days that I would be super wet walking around, and I'd be like, oh, I must have been horny today. But no,
but it's not always
must have been dirty.
There's not always concurrent. There's not always concurrence like that. Just because you're wet doesn't mean you're aroused. Just because you're dry doesn't mean you're not aroused. And if you want to know about your amazing self-cleaning vagina, I don't know about Ken, but I love Jen Gunter's book, The Vagina Bible. It gets into all of it. And can I say one other thing about the term female ejaculate, which Kenneth explained so well? It's just that ejaculate just means whatever it is that you're ejaculating technically. So it's like kind of an umbrella term. And I can't wait for their study about what's actually in it. But the milky stuff people think is prostatic specific antigen.
Ejaculating is just something coming out with force. There's literally a passage in Harry Potter which was like, "Get out!" He ejaculated.
Yes. You'll be surprised when you read like an 18th century English novel and you think, wow, you know, there's not going to be anything sexy in here. And then people are just ejaculating all over the place.
Can I just pop in with a quick fact check around cervical fluid? Basically, when you are ovulating, you have cervical fluid, and the sperm, it's the perfect like pH and everything for the sperm to travel up through the cervix and up, you know, through everything to get to the egg. So the discharge, some of it when it's extra, like egg white, is cervical fluid.
That's why your discharge changes through the course of the month if you're still reproductive, right?
So cool. Okay, good to know. Okay, so back to squirting and Wednesday's squirt and Kenneth's making Wednesday's squirt. How long did it take?
I think I was kind of a tough subject because and I think it had to do with the fact that I had never squirted before. I had been conditioned my entire life to suck all those muscles in. I'm a person who, when I was during childbirth, I was so afraid of shitting during childbirth. And my obstetrician was like,
oh my God, wait, for a second, I thought you meant like when you were a baby, you were scared to shit when coming out. I was like, dude, you've been neurotic forever.
But, you know, probably as a baby, I probably was because I am that neurotic.
But yeah, no, I don't even know if I'm going to have children. I'm scared of shitting during childbirth.
Don't be scared. It's just a hallmark of your awesomeness if you do. It just means you're really bearing down. But like, so all I'm going to say is that Kenneth really had his work cut out for him with me because on the outside, I'm very uninhibited and like, sure, we're going to do this. We're going to do this live. We're going to record this squirting tutorial. And if it goes well, it goes well. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I don't mind like being on camera without anything below my waist. And it's fine. And we'll slap it on YouTube or whatever. I was fine with all that. But Kenneth always is dealing with, layers of repression, right? So I seemed like I was totally fine with it, but conditioning can be really deep. So I thought it was really important that he talked me through my conditioning. That was like the first part. And also he said he couldn't do his intake questions with me because he didn't know that we were just going to do a squirting tutorial. So he really skillfully
He just thought it was a joke.
He did. He just thought like that bitch isn't going to take off her underpants and lie down on a squirt pad. But he did a really great like spontaneous intake interview with me a little bit. He asked me if I had any sexual trauma in my life, and I'm one of the few women who can answer like, no, I did not. And he just did so many things to put me at ease. And I'm saying this to everybody, not just because I want to talk about how awesome Kenneth is, but I think this is a great thing to just do for your partner in general before sex. He asked me if I had any sexual trauma. He asked me if I was a person who spent my whole life sucking my stomach in. He asked me if I felt comfortable, if there's anything else we could do to make me feel more comfortable. Did I really want to do this? And could I just unburden myself of the fact that there was any pressure on him or me to make it happen? And it should really just be like a fun, pleasurable encounter.
So leading up to even getting on the floor was quite
that was a really important
amount of
part.
time. No, but it was like 20 minutes or
did it in like 5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
Didn't you, Kenneth? Would you say it was about 5 minutes?
Yeah, to get from my memory. So what I usually do in a session when I'm like helping my client explore their pleasure in a somatic sex ed session, the first thing is to get them into calm, relaxed state. So I usually start with some general body massage and touch and just more grounding, like a lot of pressure and just getting the body into that state, because our head could be all over the place. Wednesday could be thinking about the window, like, you know, is it going to record or whatever is running through her mind. So I want her to get back into her bodily sensation. So general massage, a lot of pressure throughout the body. Once I feel her body relax a little bit, that I know she's in her parasympathetic nervous system, meaning that she's could get aroused. So I want to feel the turn on. Now that was tricky because we didn't really talk beforehand and I didn't want to get too sexy. I was like, I don't know what the professional boundary would be. So that was really tricky for me. So I stay a little bit more clinical and I just use my hand for the talking bit, you know?
Okay. It's because, so is it usually like sexier with clients? Like
not sexier, just more erotic, because like you're trying to get them into the state of arousal. Like I'm not like, you know, milking a cow. Like that's not their
right.
So it has to be in that context. Although it's one-way touch, right? Like I'm touching my client for their
I was
pleasure.
gonna say, but you're never getting off from
No,
it.
no.
Okay.
But I have to find my client's arousal. So in Wednesday's case, is this like sort of professional, you know, and I didn't want to, so I'm trying to figure that out, but I go like, let my hand do most of the talking. I'm just trying to like, so once her body starts to respond, and then I don't
like
put,
feel like that relaxation.
And then I start touching the vulva more, like a little bit of a tease and building up some anticipation, so more arousal could happen. Then I start touching the vulva slowly and trying to
Is
gauge
she on her
her.
back at this point?
She's on her back. I'm on my knees, right
Okay.
on the floor. She's on her back, and I'm stroking and massaging her vulva slowly, like tease her lips, not touch her clit like in the very beginning, just to wait for that moment when I feel like the clit is yearning to be touched, because it's like that feel.
It's like, put me in, coach.
Put me in, coach. And I think that's one of the things I love teaching my audience about, how to read that erotic cue, because sometimes it's nonverbal, like is the body's moving towards it. And then I start touching. It's
the enthusiastic consent from the clit,
from the body.
Like there's nothing worse than somebody like just like shoving their fingers in you or whatever, or like like DJing you without like it being asked for, like and your body does ask for it.
And a lot of it is also a tactile feeling. I'm feeling for engorgement, like the changes from like a non-aroused state to aroused state. So that depends on the person and the circumstances. So I feel her vulva is getting more engorged. I could feel her clit getting a little bit bigger. I could look at it too. And then I start stroking the clit and trying to provide some sensation, because touching their clit externally is one of the most reliable way to build pleasure. But I have the system. So the system is that you start touching because you're just guessing. So I start to calibrate where I know it's like, it's not too little, but it's not too much. So I slowly ramped up the amount of sensation, trying to find the perfect, like the pleasure sweet spot. And then as her body starts to respond, and then I did that for like 2 to 3 minutes. And then I wait for that welcoming, like, is it okay for me to put my finger inside you? So I check in, kind of a safe port system, and then I start putting my finger in, and we tried it a little bit, but I noticed that every time I start giving her more of an intense G-spot sensation, she would cramp down involuntarily. So I was like, okay, so I can't, my job is not to push, right? My job is not to push. So I just basically pause for a second. Wednesday, I go like, you know, do you feel that sensation? I go like, when you feel it, that's good. Like that's a good sign. And then what I want you to do is bear down a little bit when
push against my hand.
Yeah. And I coach it until I know the vagina is is contracting those muscles. Then once we figure that out, to calibrate between the both of us, then I did the more intense technique, which is sort of overrides it. So if she just bear down a little bit or just relax, it normally happened. That's when the squirting happened. So I would say the calibration, and when I say how I was moving my hand, is that my palm was rubbing her clit, right? But my pad on my index finger is pushing up against her G-spot, and my fingernail and the that pad, the front pad of my finger is pressing down towards her anus. So what it does is that it creates a range of motion when it's up and down, but the palm is rubbing her clit. So that's creating more pleasurable sensation.
This sounds like fucking dessert. I am. Oh my God.
It was dessert, even on like dingy wall-to-wall carpeting in a squirt pack.
Yes.
It was just,
Especially on
yeah.
dingy wall-to-wall carpeting.
Yeah. It was really
Okay.
well done.
So,
But wait, I have a question for Ken.
yeah, go. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So every time you started massaging me, I started like with my uptight routine.
I felt it in your I felt it in your vagina, and then I was like, okay, so then that's why I stopped it and coached it a little bit, to have you more relaxed. And then also once you gain a little bit of your involuntary control, then you feel like we're doing this together rather than I'm just doing a thing to you. I think that was important too. There's also one thing that I learned that I find very useful with my student is that they have to understand it's context driven. So it could be the same 67 degrees outside. If it's the first day of spring, oh, it's so warm, everybody's wearing a t-shirt running around. But if it's summer, it's 67 degrees, it's so freaking cold, I need to put on a jacket. So I need to make sure that the sensation I'm providing is a sensation, but how she interprets it is more important. So I always want to navigate that interpretation.
How do you know that the squirt is about to come? Like, can you feel it?
I don't want to mansplain Wednesday's experience, but from my perspective, I hear
no, I'm saying, can you feel it?
I hear the sound. So there's usually a sound, and I've been studying so many things about satisfaction, like what happens in our brain. So there's a specific feel to it when it's done right. So there is this feeling that I get and the sound I hear, so I know when it's coming, then I know like how much to push forward and going back. And that's why it's so fascinating. It's such a mastery to like pick up those cues.
Wait, what's the sound? What was the sound that my pussy was making?
You hear the squishy sound, you hear the squishy sound, and then I feel a specific type of like relaxation and involuntary contraction that I feel it on my finger. And when I get it right, because when I tried it like 2 times before we did the third time, that's when what happened, is that when your like vulva and vagina really relaxes, there's a softness to it. And then just like when people with trauma, they're that involuntary spasm, that contraction is like foaming from fear. The other one is like relax, I'm into it. So it has its own language. She has her. The vulva has its own language, and then I'm just like feeling the level of contraction. So when it's relaxed, it feels very relaxed. Just like you're giving someone a massage and they're flexing their muscle. I don't want that muscle flex. So when I feel that soft belly of the muscle, then I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah. Okay. And then Wednesday, how did it feel for you?
Just felt like, just imagine having a vulva, vagina, clit whisper. He was just, So imagine that. And I felt like Kenneth really knew my body almost as well as I did. So
just in that short time.
And when we got to that point, well, first of all, I really enjoyed, like the vulval stimulation at first, and him taking his time with that. And then after that initial resistance, when I did just relax, I could feel that it was a really different sensation than what I had been feeling before. And then my brain did kick in with all this, like, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I pee? What if I fart? What if all these bad things happen in my mind, bad things? And so that was interesting. And I think I remember Kenneth you saying, like, after a while, Kenneth said, we're going to switch to the involuntary method now.
Okay.
Remember that, Kenneth?
Yeah. I was just giving you a more intense sensation that kind of overrides the reflex. So if you just relax enough, and that's the one that is in their like 95, 96 percentile success rate, because I've been obsessively studying like which technique. It's the personal trainer in me, but that usually works. So I'm just like, if I could coach correctly and then this technique, it works most of the time.
The coaching was a big deal, how you were talking to me the whole time.
Yeah.
It wasn't too clinical. Like you kept saying, Kenneth, like, I'm being more clinical than I would usually be. But it wasn't, the coaching was just a nice blend of like encouragement. And I remember you saying things to me like, thanks so much for trusting me. I just want to make you feel good. That's the main point here. The coaching was great.
And do you have on your website, Kenneth, like tutorials where you are being more clinical to when you are being more sexy so that people can like imitate those different methods? Because I know a lot of people are going to be trying to do this for their partners.
On my Sex Hacker Pro course, I talk about all the cueing and what to say, and then more, when you with your lover, it's going to be a more erotic context. I would say things like, there was a moment when I was like, should I say, your vulva look beautiful? That, those things, but then I didn't know in the right context,
Right.
So yeah. So in a normal lover connection, then that you would say those things that, if people want to feel beautiful, they want to be wanted and desire and all those things. So how you say those things and be able to coach is very important.
Yeah. No, and it's good to kind of have a script for people who don't feel super comfortable, even if it is with somebody that they've been with for a long time. Like, these are really good phrases that you can like, I'm here for you.
That's a good one. I'm here for you is such a good one.
Yeah.
It says a lot, and it doesn't
it just takes the time pressure off of it too. Yeah. And it's like,
right. Because I was like, oh my God, okay, what clit haver has not at some point in her life had somebody's head down between her legs, and the whole thing in her head is, I'm taking too long.
He hates this. He hates this. She hates
taking too long.
Yeah.
So I loved Kenneth saying, like, we have lots of time for this. I'm here for you. That's a great thing.
Wednesday, you've had orgasms before, like, right? When was your first one?
I think I was 11, and I was like masturbating, on the bathroom floor.
She loves floors.
I love floors, I guess. And I had known since I was a kid how to have an orgasm or what felt good to my body. So I was able to tell Kenneth.
Yeah. And so you already knew things that you did, like you already knew what the feeling of orgasm felt like for years. Was it a different feeling? Like, did the squirt happen first? Did it happen coupled with the orgasm? Did it feel different than the stuff that you'd experienced before?
So here's the interesting thing. I wouldn't describe what happened to me as an orgasm.
Okay.
It was more like there was a squirting sensation that was very pleasurable and almost a little painful. Like, at certain points I was saying, this hurts, and Kenneth was like, well, then let me do this another way. But when I actually squirted, the buildup was like as if I were having an orgasm, but I don't know that I had an orgasm, but I certainly
it was still a release.
I squirted, and it felt so good, because going back to masturbating since age 11 and being in midlife, and going back to that point about thinking that I didn't have any more tricks in my trick bag, I was just skeptical that there could be a new sensation. And there definitely was.
Okay. Yeah, see, when I do it, so the first time I came, I squirted first. I knew I squirted. I gushed everywhere, but I also knew that I had not come yet. Like, I was like, there's water everywhere, but you still have more to go. You haven't had that, like, I've melted feeling. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I bared down, and I kept my toy on, and then I got on the floor, because we love a floor, and I came again, and I squirted again a lot. And since I've done it, like, I'm like, yeah, it feels good. It definitely feels like a release. Is it the be all end all? No. So, like, if anybody is out there and they're thinking like, oh my God, like, this sounds like the whole thing is amazing. Like, just being cared for like this is amazing. Like, if the squirt doesn't happen, like, that's fine. You still had a really nice time. Like, all of this sounds like a nice time. And like, even now when I do hold myself back from squirting, like, whether it is the stigma or I don't want to do laundry or whatever, like, I don't dislike my orgasms when I'm holding back. Does it feel just a little better to like let everything go if something is waiting? Yes, please let yourself go if something's waiting, but like, again, it's not the be all end all.
That's one of the biggest, one of the common myths are that squirting is orgasm. So when people are seeing in porn,
Yeah.
that they put this like orgasm hierarchy over it, and it's definitely
Yeah.
sometime it accompanies it and sometime it doesn't. But there is definitely like different sex hack that people could try. So if they want to couple that experience, they could be edge for a really long time and they're like dying to come, and then you do the squirting technique so they kind of happen simultaneously, which is
Yes.
another blended version of that experience. But that's up to the person's prerogative, like how they want to enjoy it. Some people squirt when they have anal sex as well, and it just and some people squirt most of the time when they have an orgasm. So it depends on their individual.
But can I say something that started to happen to me after my squirting tutorial with Kenneth? Is that immediately, well, first of all, I squirted, and like there wasn't a lot of liquid, but there was definitely liquid. And Kenneth explained to me sometimes some people, when they squirt, they suck the liquid is
Back
going
up.
in. And so that was interesting to learn. But there was definitely like this squirt.
Wait, what do you mean? What does that mean?
So the water could rush out, right, a little bit, and then the sphincter could close, and then it just kind of sits in the urethra. Like it depends on the second one close back. It's a hypothesis that some goes back in. It might not drain in. It might stay in the holding, but it depends on when does the two gate open.
Okay.
On how much, yeah. So sometimes you could have an
feel
orgasm.
Different if it stays there.
Like that, I don't know. We don't have enough data. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I think
until
it just pee it out. Yeah. I think people just pee it out.
Ken, are there good studies? I mean, the Lit review that I did was about the chemical composition of female ejaculate. Are there good studies, I doubt it, on women's subjective experiences of squirting, or will yours be the first one?
I think mine is the most comprehensive one, because we talk about people's relationship with it, stories. Included a lot of stories, like when this first time happened to them, did they have a positive association? Did someone teach it to them? Did you meet that swinger guy at every swinger party that go around and squirt women because it's their thing? So like we try to figure out what the narrative is. And we've been very ambitious with the survey. We want to collect all the data, get all the story, and then we kind of want to do an exhibit on all their data and the story, because it's a little bit of like a vagina monologue-ish, because there's so much to it, and people have different relationship with that experience.
It's going to be epic when that comes out, because women, we talk so much about squirting again as like the hallmark of male prowess, but like I love just talking about the female subjective experience of squirting to recenter what it's about for the person it's happening to. And what I can say is that after you could not get more of your money's worth if you do this any of Kenneth's classes, because once I was trained to do it, first of all, after it happened, Whitney, my podcast co-hostess, took a video of me. I was so relaxed. I don't know if I had ever been that relaxed in my life. Amazing. It was like, you know how you feel so deeply like the molecules of your body have been reorganized when you are by the ocean sometimes?
Sure, yeah.
Or babies always fall asleep in boats. It was as if the particles of my body had changed. And I have never been that relaxed in my life as I was after that squirting tutorial. That was one thing that was really interesting to me. I slept, I think that night I might have slept for 11 hours. It was really profoundly relaxing. And then, I don't know if I told you this, Kenneth, but like afterwards, my body learned to squirt, and now it knows how to do it.
And now it knows how to do it.
Kenneth has created a monster.
Wow.
I will be walking down the street, and like, I remember right after my squirting tutorial, I had like prolonged eye contact with somebody attractive on the street, squirted. Sometimes I would sometimes I would go for a walk in Sag Harbor and just have a sexy thought and just squirt. Going for a walk here in LA, just like walking along, having a sexy thought, I will squirt. Kenneth taught my body how to squirt. He helped me teach my body how to squirt, better
That's
said.
amazing.
And now it happens. And, you know, I think it was happening a little bit before, Kenneth, but part of what you taught me was to tune in that it was happening before. I would be like, why did I just pee? And it was squirting. I was like, why would I have a sexy thought and then like pee a little? What is wrong with my body? And Kenneth reframed all that.
So they had
me.
already been happening.
They had been happening a little, but I didn't know how to like fully be in that moment.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
I didn't know how to leverage those moments.
Yeah.
And now I do. And it's like just a complete delight to realize, like, we think of guys as like, oh my God, you just like got a hard on in the most inconvenient moment. I will squirt in the most inconvenient moments, not a ton, but enough that I have to go home and maybe change my underwear.
I'd have to change my whole pants.
Would you have to change your whole pants?
Yes. Like that's not even an option. I'm like, okay, you're wearing diapers then? Because I like if I was just like squirting in my pants, it would be a situation.
I guess when Kenneth and John's study comes out, we're gonna learn about like amounts that different women squirt. Contexts.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because you squirt a lot, Remy.
Yeah, man.
You know, I have a hypothesis. Kenneth and Remy, tell me if this makes any sense. I have a hypothesis that younger women are better at it. And the reason is that they grew up being told that it's part of their sexual repertoire. Whereas for me, it was like off the freaking map.
No.
I
mean, maybe I'm not a young woman anymore, but like I disagree hard because I just remember being in college and there was a girl hooking up with the guy I was also hooking up with. And then I found out she was a squirter from somebody but they were like, ew, like it was in an ew context. And I was like, oh, good. I have that over her because I don't do anything.
How long ago is that?
College. So like 2011 or no, 2008.
I mean, I think thinking about squirting in the culture has shifted so much since then. That was 12 years ago, right?
Yeah, I'm not a young woman anymore.
No, you are. You're forever young. But I guess my point was that squirting has entered the consciousness of people for good and for bad, fake representations of it, real representations of it. I'm sorry that happened to you and that there wasn't enough exceptions of it when you were in college.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, like, happy for growth, stoked on it, excited that we're finally doing this episode to teach other people how to do it.
You know, this might be controversial to say, but part of why I teach it like a personal trainer, I think this in-body education is really important because you are teaching people how to use their body. Like I've been a personal trainer for like a decade and a half. I'm teaching people how to squat. You can't really teach it only like looking at a diagram and show you in text on how to do something. So I went out and make a video course and teach it in the context that I'm showing somebody in a real world demo. And I think this form of sex education is really important. And if we only associate like that sexual experience and romance has to be coupled together and you can learn about how your body works and what feels good to you, then we're all kind of shooting this blind. So I wish there's more room that we could put a category of somatic sex education that is more celebrated, because a lot of the client that I work in and I help Pamela Messon at the Back to Body retreat. Like I've been traveling around the world, probably over 1,000 plus experience like that I had with different people. And most of the time is that what they learn from their body, they bring it back to their partner. It's not like us, the practitioner, have magic hand. We're really just teaching people like, this is what your body could do. And this is how you navigate yourself. And then you could then developing the communication skill and go like, oh, I really like it when you touch me this way. Or a pressure feels better here. I want a little less friction. I don't like my clit touched directly. Like, I think those things are super useful. So I hope that happens.
No, and I do think like a lot of people, there's such a pressure when romance is coupled with sexual learning, because it's like, oh, I'm now embarrassed with this like I want this person to perceive me in a certain way, and so it can be tough, like while you're trying to learn and be perceived at the same time. And like that hands-on experience from someone who is not there to judge you, is not there to love you, they don't care about like your relationship with your siblings because they're not thinking about a future with you know what I mean? Like it's really important work.
I taught a lot of couples too. I love it. The men actually love it. They're like, oh my God, finally somebody is teaching me how to do the thing I want to learn anyway, but no one could really show me literally. And because it also matters on whose body you're touching, because there's some generalization that you could say that a lot of women, higher percentage of women prefer this versus that, like all the data on OMGS, but you still need to figure out the partner that you're trying to please. So when I could help them navigate, they go like, ooh, they feel way more confidence because I could like do a little show and tell and I help them coach them. So that's why like the mixing of the personal training skill and the sex education is really fun combo for me.
Yeah. No, I do want to talk about your background, like, because it is so interesting and you have been called the world's greatest sex hacker. Like, can you explain what a sex hacker is and why you started doing this? Or how even?
To me, sex hacking is finding really efficient and effective way to achieve some very difficult sexual experiences. So I love collecting all the different methods from like Tantra to Kinkster to the latest neuroscience research and figure out how to apply some of their like I've been very lucky talking to James Fowl. So Dr. James Fowl study a lot about the dual control system that Emily Legowski wrote on the Come As You Are, like the inhibitory excitatory. But there's certain tricks to like lower inhibitory and certain trick to increase excitatory. And then do my hands-on experience. I love like, okay, so you could maybe use a vibrator on very low, put it like once the person is relaxed, put it very low on the clitoris, and then you start spanking someone. So you have a low, so you feel relaxed enough so you get aroused, you get turned on because now the scene is set up. You are excited because you're about to be spanked, someone who likes spanking. And then you gently spank, and then as you elevate their spanking, there's like a moment where you want to engage their mind completely. So I want you to count out the next 10 spank that I'm going to give you. So that turns off all the other inhibitory stuff and gets you super excited. You're getting spanked hard for 10 times as you count it out. And at the 10, I turn the vibrator from 1 to 4. And then there's just enough sympathetic arousal to kick off an orgasm. So you could kind of combine all those like neuroscience, the actual techniques, how to do those things, and start inventing your own whatever turns you on. So
consider yourself hacked.
but it's really amazing. I remember I also run a lot of like sex parties and like erotic events. Like I used to help House of Yes run this party called House of Love. And you know, you have people are in party mode and there'd be like a Sybian there. And I have this game that I go like, let me throw some neuroscience in coaching people how to sit on a Sybian. So you give them the control and you tell them, hey, I want you to, so today's game is really fun. You get to be extremely selfish for 2 minutes. So they could turn off like people looking at them and they just focus. And then I just count the last 30 seconds of the 2 minutes. And I would say that like maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 vulva owner would have an orgasm there because of the counting, because they just turn off that 30 seconds. And then, so orgasm doesn't really, I mean, not that you need to rush to orgasm, it doesn't take long, it just takes the right condition. So I look at like a seed that needs the environment to sprout. So I love all the sex hack to create that environment.
Yeah, no, and a sex hack could be a sex toy. It could be a psychological thing. It could be, I mean, even hacking yourself into being comfortable and setting the stage. Oh my God. I love it. And you started as a personal trainer, so you've been working with bodies for a while.
Yeah, same shame too. You know, people coming in feel like they're broken. There must be something wrong with me. Why am I always like overweight or whatever the issue is? And then coaching them with a growth mindset and then really kind of like deconstruct what's holding them back and then what behavior needs to be adapted. So it's like, it's so similar to sex. So that's why I love kind of break it down in a more nerdy way, but then have actual real solution to apply to their individual struggles.
I also like on your website, you're like, the first thing you need to know about me is that I'm not a porn star. I have an average sized penis. And you're like, it's that same thing we were saying before. Like, it's not about me and how great my penis is. It's what can I do for you?
Yeah. And I can't believe I make a living now talking about my average size cock. Talk about it so much. But yeah, it's been fascinating, and thank you for people like Wednesday writing amazing books that inspire me to do my work and all the studies. So
that's awesome. Have you always been comfortable with yourself sexually?
No, I was deeply sexually insecure, like crippling sexually insecure. As an Asian immigrant, I thought my average size cock is never going to be enough to satisfy anybody. I thought like they're going to laugh at me at a sex party. Like that's the thoughts that runs through my head. And I was painfully shy. And then I thought if I become really fit and become a personal trainer, I have more value to give. And I realized even though I could get really fit, I still could be sexually insecure and incompetent. So it did not make any difference. And, like people talk about big dick energy and like small dick energy. I think confidence is the true big dick energy, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized is that no matter what I do, if I never learn how to be confident in the bedroom and always come to my partner with that energy, is never going to go well. So in my late 20s, I decided to like hack my sex life like I did with fitness, like learn how to gain muscle and lose body fat. And then I went on this rabbit hole. And then next thing I know, I kind of squirting was the first thing I figured out. Like I was obsessed with it. And then I found out, this is like over glorified party trick. But then people start asking me to teach it. And I go like, I never thought I going to be a sex educator. So on one party event, they asked me to do a tutorial. And I taught it like an acro yoga class. We have 15 couples laying on a beautiful hotel setting. I'm going like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then I taught it like a Peloton class for squirting.
Amazing.
And then
come on, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Turn that clit up to 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Now pump it and pull it and move your elbows. What's that thing? Press. Bear down. Bear down.
So what's really fascinating is that you have a
look at your butt in the mirror. Sorry.
Everybody could get synced to the same rhythm. Like everybody could all get like this collective flow could happen in sexuality too. And I can't believe when I like taught the final technique, it turned into a fountain in Vegas. Like,
oh my God.
Like I was like looking at this thing and like I can't believe I taught like 15 people how to do it live, like right in that moment.
Oh my God, like and fucking then, little geysers.
Yeah, geyser. Then I'm going like, oh, now this could be a career, and then I decided to do it.
The best career ever.
Wait, okay. I'm always like so proudly like, okay, I have made like upwards of 600 vulva owners have their first orgasms without touching them. Question for Kenneth: How many squirts have you induced touching, and then how many squirts do you think you have induced just by teaching?
Well, I probably have over 1,000, like my personal experience between lovers and professional setting, and then I have about 12 million view on Pornhub, and I have like 5,000 plus students now. I'm in my course. So a lot, I would say.
Squirting all over the world.
But it's not squirting. I love squirting is just like one thing.
It's just one facet. Yeah.
I love teaching people how to unlock sexual pleasure that they didn't even know was possible. And that's what's really fun. Yeah.
No, it is amazing. I think a lot of people think of squirting as the final floodgate. Because like that is like you've unlocked yourself, you've let yourself get to that point where like the stigma's gone and like you're free.
Yeah, but it's different.
It's still not the be all end all.
I think getting someone into a trance state, having like a 90-minute orgasmic experience where there's multiple orgasm in between this whole thing. But when I think
what the fuck?
To me, the most beautiful part is when you get the arousal right, like meaning the context and whatever turns them on like they really like their pussy heart and brain is all firing at the same time. That's when it's magical. So I love finding that combo.
Oh my God, amazing. I'm so happy that we've all come together for this event.
I know. I just want to say that Kenneth, probably since you taught me to squirt a year ago, I've probably squirted 200 times involuntarily since then. So just to get those numbers out there that Remy's curious about, add that to the numbers. And thank you, Kenneth.
And we haven't really talked about Wednesday's work enough at all, but Wednesday is so brilliant. She doesn't just get squirting tutorials done on her. And I will have said your thing in the intro. But one of the best anthropologists out there right now, and highly recommend reading her book, Primates of Park Avenue, which we have alluded to on a past episode.
Did you?
Yes, we did.
That one's about motherhood, and Untrue is about sex. And I have to do a new edition of Untrue because Untrue does not have How Come, and it does not have Kenneth in it. And no book about female sexuality can be complete without the How Come podcast and Kenneth play. So I'm just going to have to go back to the drawing board with Untrue.
Maybe we'll just,
an updated edition.
Just do another little book. I've been meaning to write a little book. So will you help me with that, Mom?
I will,
Thank
honey.
you.
I'll help you write your book proposal. We'll do it together.
Besides introducing me to Kenneth, Wednesday is also, and being a fantastic human being, Wednesday is like my social media mom for when I'm spiraling out of control and I have too many inbox messages. She'll just send me a little blurb and be like, you don't have to get to it right now. Answer them in a live if you feel so moved. And suddenly I'm not stressed anymore. So this is cute. It's like you removed my stress. Kenneth removed your stress.
And you've given
Kenneth, I hope someone's doing it for you.
Very fortunate, yes.
Who sex hacks Kenneth? I don't know, but I hope the sex hacker is getting all the love and sex and joy because he brings so much of it to all of us. And can I just say,
you are, right? Aren't you married to two people?
I'm engaged. We were supposed to get married during COVID. So is Karen and Geronimo and I. So we proposed to her together on Halloween. Yeah.
So cute.
And if you haven't seen the video, you have to see it.
I need to see it.
Need to see that.
And you guys are open?
Yeah. Super poly. I'm super slutty.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think all three of us have two different degrees of adventurous nature. But it's been really amazing to like for both of us to like love her together. And I'm turning 40 next year, and she also wants to have a child. I'm not on the baby train yet, and he wanted a baby from yesterday. It's been a really interesting way to negotiating having a family and making it all work. So it's cute.
Oh my God, you guys are both the best and so interesting. And I feel like, yes, like there's so many more things I'd love to talk to you both about, and I think we'll have to have you back. Maybe for a little Patreon something. Would you guys be open to that if we have more questions for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
100%. I'm always down to be with Remy and Kenneth. Always. In any context.
I would love to give your audience a 50% off to my course too. So they could use their coupon How Come. And then
oh my God.
All uppercase.
You guys.
So yeah, please enjoy it.
This is the best day ever. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge. Where can everybody find you online, Kenneth?
KennethPlay.com, and most of my handle is KennethPlay as well. I do want to have a super quick plug on Wednesday's book. Like Untrue is so important because it taught us one of the most valuable lessons for men who love having sex with women. Is don't be boring in bed. Like boring is what kills. So I love that book about that part. Yeah.
Amazing. Wednesday, where can everybody find you online and your books?
My book on True is about female sexuality, and you can find it wherever you buy books online. You can support an independent bookstore and order it that way. And on social media, Twitter, I'm at Wednesday Martin. And on Instagram, my Instagram account is constantly disabled. You can
constantly.
And thank you guys for helping me get back on. It's Wednesday Martin PhD. But if that's been disabled and you can't follow it, you can follow at Dr. Wednesday Martin.
And you can hear Wednesday's amazing podcast with our friend Whitney.
Oh, yeah. True Sex and Wild Love is the podcast that I do. So people can tune in. That's on, wherever you get your podcasts. And it's have a listen to True Sex and Wild Love. Kenneth has been a guest, of course, for our squirting episode. And Remy has been a guest on True Sex and Wild Love. So that's just proof we get
the same day.
Same day.
Honestly, do you remember that day too? There was a lot of liquid. I came in crying, and then you healed me.
You
remember?
Did. You were crying. I can't remember why, but I just
somebody had been mean to me, and I came in crying, and then I left dry. Whereas Kenneth came and you were dry, and then left you wet. So bookends.
I fell in love with you that day, Remy, as well as Kenneth. I fell in love with both of you on the same day.
I do have to ask this question to anybody I've had a sexual experience with and anybody on this podcast. Kenneth, did you finish?
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you.
Amazing. Wednesday, did you finish?
I mean, can't you tell? Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Definitely.
The afterglow is real. Yeah. You guys, I finished too, and thank you so much for coming. Follow us at How Come Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me. Please follow me at Remy Casimir on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok or wherever, and yeah, if you want to see this whole thing filmed, unedited, there is a 2-hour long recording of just me, Wednesday, and Kenneth. And then there is a separate half-hour recording of Kiana's portion. So go check all that out for only $5. And that includes Jessica's journey. Only $5. Patreon.com/howcome. Go check it out. And if not, we will see you on the internet. Until then, and we will see you guys next time on How Come. Goodbye.
Bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna just